Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you find yourself in these moments. As I've spoken about before, I was almost born in the church, was there 2 to 3 times a week throughout my childhood and adolescence. So when I began to reflect on giving as a part of my life, I actually am not surprised that much of my experience of giving and my feelings associated with giving are connected to the church and to my relationship with God. I also found that I have a history of my giving being very connected to my mother. So it's very touching to me to realize that at the celebration of Mother's Day, 40 years after her passing, it was my mother, Mary Jean, who taught me the most about giving. So during my childhood and adolescence, we were one of the families who received food baskets and other support from the church. And I've come to understand in my own adulthood more about how much my parents struggled under the weight of mid 20th century poverty and racism. I think that these dynamics contribute to my earliest learning and memories about giving, not being about placing money in the plate that was passed during offertory time, but of giving to the church community through time and talents. This giving was primarily focused on participation in church performance groups. My mother was in the choir and in what we would call the drama ministry. And I have vivid memories of being with her as she engaged in these memories. Being with her at rehearsals, during special performances, and Sunday worship, I got to notice the impact of her participation. I think that for my mother, these groups were important because they were small, supportive communities within the larger church community. And I'm really aware that there was a mutuality to this process that went on because congregants reported regularly how spiritually moved and blessed they were by the contributions my mother made through these groups. So because I was with my mother, I was given drama and musical roles to play when I was really young. And I began to have the experience of contributing, of giving along with my mother, or of trying to do so in ways that she did. As I think of this process of giving my time and talents in church as a young one, I realized that there were clear rules about how I was to relate to giving, and my mother modeled these. I was to be humble and quiet about my contributions. I was to respond to compliments by expressing the realization that was developing for me that my time and talents were indeed gifts, and that I was glad, blessed, and humbled that they were meaningful and a blessing to others individually and in community. I knew and learned that I was to build the skills of the talents that I have to build skills around them and to keep considering how I might share them with others, how I might take what I have been given, hone it, and give it to others in my unique way. In this process, I was showing God appreciation for God's giving to me by giving to others. I do believe that my mother modeled this giving as a deep part of her relationship to God. Her giving was a part of her prayer life. I heard her pray to be a support to others through her contributions. It's important for me to say also that there were times in the process of learning giving of not wanting to get up to go to rehearsals or to sing or play that song one more time for Miss So-and-so at prayer meetings because she loved it or was soothed by it. I don't remember being made to feel guilty or bad at those times, but I was nudged and pushed to live up to my commitments to giving, even when I didn't want to. I learned from that I would almost always get engaged once I got going on the task, even if I would not show my parents that and instead would be a bit grumpy afterward. I realized that in these learnings about giving, I've deepened into them and carried them into my adult spiritual world, and not only spiritually, but in my life as an educator and a counselor, giving and contributing not to impress, but to support others as God and the ancestors help and support and are present for us. I was away from the church for over 30 years because of unwelcoming violent theology and behavior against the LGBT plus community. And that happened in more than one church that I tried to attend. In finding MCC and becoming more connected to church again, I found that considerations of financial giving arose along with the process of organizing my contributions of my time and my talents. I think that it is at that point that I began to apply what I learned from my mother to financial giving as well. Learning to engage in financial giving has not been seamless or easy. As I began the process, I found that giving came with worry that I would not be able to meet other financial needs in my life if I gave to the church. So my early giving felt challenging, even as giving of my time and talents came easily in terms of the whys and the hows that I would contribute. Financial giving remained challenging. With time, I got clearer about what I was giving financially and what my giving was providing. I also stopped demanding that I pretend that I was relaxed in my giving. I decided that I would allow myself time to feel my anxiety and uncertainty and questioning, and still do what my mother had taught me to do, to continue to give, having faith that I was getting learning and experiences that I needed through the giving, and in the process, I was contributing to increased access to resources and power to those who had been pushed to the margins. So from this process of staying with giving, I was gradually able to develop a giving practice that holds the values of supporting others and expresses my appreciation of the many gifts of support that God and the ancestors have afforded me. This practice has aligned my financial giving with my contributions of time and talents, and all are marked at times by profound gratitude and peace. On this Mother's Day, I am so blessed by lessons in giving received from my mother and by the great gift of love that she shared with me. Happy Mother's Day, Mama.